Hello you fantastic people, welcome back to another Borderlands 3 video. In this one I have my level 65 Mandalorian FL4K build, a completely Mando themed build. Absolutely loved that TV show last year. Now that we have this rifle in the game, I had to put a theme build together. It is one, really fun, and very strong as well. It's a mobbing primarily based build, but can do some bosses really well, and others it's just kind of... It's a decent build, but definitely not my strongest for some of them, but it can quite easily handle the melee one takedown. I'll have some clips on screen so you guys can see how much damage the Mando build can do. We're of course running primarily the Disruptor Jacob Sniper Rifle, brand new to the game and is a Mandalorian reference. In the red text it reads, I can bring you in cold, or I can bring you in not at all, which is really cool if you guys have seen the TV show. The sniper itself is really awesome. It does a ton of damage just like most Jacob snipers in this game. Has 6 bullets to the magazine, which we buff via the build, and you generally one-dink all the things. The ability of it is it bypasses the shields, making it way easier to one-shot things, and it also has a blade on the end of it, which does shock damage. I don't generally use that much, but in the situation where you take out all the enemies except one, you have no bullets left in the mag, you can obliterate him with a knife just for funsies. We're also using a secondary weapon in this build, being the brand new Melee 1 Radical Pistol, which is really strong. Comes from DLC 6, you can get it from Hermie as well as the Sniper Rifle, or I believe you can get them both from the Ava missions as well. I haven't managed to get them from there, but you can get them from either apparently. The pistol isn't a direct Mandalorian reference via its red text or anything, but when you shoot it, it actually sends out spikes that home in on all the other enemies in the area, doing a heap of damage, which at least reminded me of the Mandalorian gauntlet that he has. Sends out those spikes, it takes out everybody in a room. And I wanted to add it to this build because you do need a secondary. One, because this gun is awesome and does a ton of damage against the bosses, which helps complete the build. But also the sniper rifle seems to be at least a little buggy for me. Because it bypasses shields and goes straight to a health bar, for some reason I'm having problems taking out armored enemies. Doesn't happen all the time, but some armored enemies like the doggos in the Melee 1 takedown, the Valkyries or Rotan, sometimes the gun just doesn't do any damage. You see damage numbers, but it just doesn't do anything, like not even an inch, which makes no sense and doesn't happen to the same enemies all the time. For example, when I versed Wotan, the bottom half took a ton of damage and I got it down in a pretty quick time, generally for a Jacob Sniper Rifle, and then the top half took 0 damage. So that's when you pull out your blaster, the Radical Pistol, and absolutely blast all of the armored enemies out of your way, so then you can pull out your Sniper Rifle again if you want to. Now that I've hopefully talked long enough for you guys to get a good idea of what the build is like via the clips, let's go through the gear you guys need, starting with the Disrupted Jacob Sniper Rifle. This thing comes in a few different damage variants. I would keep an eye out for at least an 87k damage one. That's the highest I've seen at least. Let me know if you guys have seen a better one. Don't have to worry about the anointment because of course you can re-roll it at Crazy Earl's new vending machine, which is really good. It makes it so much easier to make stronger and stronger builds now. All the other stats are pretty much going to be the same. For the Radical, I haven't seen what the highest damage one. This is the best one I have. Again, the anointments I would rock is on action skill and weapon damage increased by 100%. That is because we are locked into a Beskar shield for this build. Another Mandalorian reference because he has Beskar armor in the TV show if you guys haven't seen it. This shield is kind of crazy. It's really good, particularly for FL4K because he is generally not the strongest boy in the health department, because it has a 100% chance to reflect projectiles while shielded. It also has 50% damage reduction while shielded. I also got the extra abilities. You don't need these. It's just if you want to go for a really good one. I have an extra 40% capacity whilst minus 10% health. And then for some reason I have an extra 15% chance to reflect projectiles while shielded, adding up to 115% chance. I'm not sure how that math works out, but alas, for the anointment, I would recommend an action skill and a elemental damage variant depending on what you're doing. I have radiation on mine, and then I pair that with my grenade being fire or corrosive depending on if I'm versing melee 1 dudes or armored dudes. As for class mods, I'd recommend the Bounty Hunter. Once paired with the Hunter Seeker, you can stack your kill skills really quickly for boss fights or even just mobbing situations, giving yourself a heap of extra damage really quickly. I have a really stacked Jacob's one because I always use snipers and Jacob shotguns in this game. If you guys want to farm yourself a Radical version though, you can get a ton of extra damage out of this. I was just using the same class mod the whole time. As for artifact, the Pearl is there, but not the best option. You can use that, particularly if you're using the Radical a lot. But the best option for the Disruptor, I would recommend, if it wants to show, there we go. The Jacob's Company Man is a new artifact that comes out of DLC 6 and the Hermie raid boss. likely the Ava DLC as well, but I got it from the raid boss. This thing is insane. You can have an extra 50% damage. I got fire rate and mag size in this one, but you can roll both 50% damage and 40% crit damage. So you get way more damage out of your Jacob's sniper rifles or any Jacob's weapon as well. This one's a really good one for mag size. I have 100% extra bullets in the mag, which is really good. Other options, of course, the Pearl from DLC 2 if you have it, or if you want a base game option before you manage to get yourself a good company man, a Snowdrift Victory Rush. That's an auto idle, but Victory Rush is good as well because you stack kills and get more damage and movement speed. As for Mayhem Modifiers, I don't really use these anymore because I can't be bothered rolling them every time I do a build. But if you guys want recommendations for Mayhem 10, easy modifier, I generally use Big Kick Energy or just something neutral like Speed Demon. As for medium and hard modifiers, I use Drone Ranger and Healy Avenger because they're very neutral and very easy to deal with. For very hard modifier, I would recommend Holy Crit because it actually amps your damage if you're being accurate. If you're not accurate, then I'd use Buddy System instead because again, that's pretty easy to deal with. As for the level 65 skill tree, we are using 3-shot fadeaway, so we're using Not My Circus paired with Unblinking Eye. As for skill points spent, I put 5 points in Furious Attack for shooting enemies. It gives you more damage. That also counts for the Hunter Seekers as well. Also, 5 points in Eager to Impress for some action skill cooldown rate very quickly. I put 3 points in Self-Repairing System. If you guys want to use the Radical more often, I was primarily using the Sniper, you can put these in Overclocked instead. I put 3 points in Turn, Tail, and Run, health regen, and damage reduction whilst moving because you want to be chunky like Mando with the armor on. Also gun damage and fire rate while standing still, so stand still, get those accurate shots and be doing a ton more damage. I put a point to lick the wounds so the pet can pick you up because who wants to down to barrels. 5 points into Hidden Machine, 30% extra damage when enemies can't see you. That'll happen all the time when you're in fadeaway, as well as Not My Circus being proc that I'll be looking at pet rather than you. You'll get that bonus from it. 3 points in the Fast and the Furious for gun damage, pet damage, and movement speed. Gets you down to the 1 point in power inside. 25% extra damage when you start your action skill. 50% if you're at full health at the time. Over to Blue Tree, 3 points in Persistent Hunter for gun damage and action skill duration. That's good if you want to run around in fadeaway. We're only using 3-shot, but again, the gun damage, and you can position yourself whilst in fadeaway if you want. 2 points into Veracity, extra little bit of pet damage is always nice. 5 points in Frenzy is a really good ability. Essentially, if pet shoots enemies, you stack Frenzy, and more stacks you have means more damage. You pair that with 1 point in He Bites. Whenever pet gets shot, it also stacks it, and when you have 5 points in it, it is 40% extra damage at max stacks. When you pair that with the Jabber, which I'm currently using, you stack that very quickly in bossing situations, and you have that up all the time, because that SMG fires really quickly, and it's just always there. In the red tree, we'll put 3 points in Leave No Trace. Whenever you hit a critical hit, you have a 36% chance to put a bullet back in the mag, which happens quite regularly because of Hunter Seekers. And if you're hitting critical hits, ricocheting Jacob's bullets, you get that back pretty quick in the Sniper, and you have to reload way less often. The Interplanetary Stalker is a kill skill, put 5 points in there, gun damage, pet damage, and a few extra bonuses to different enemies. Put 3 points in head count. This is very good for pretty much every flak build ever. Hitting critical hits, get action skill cooldown back because you want to be in fadeaway and using that all the time for extra damage and survivability as well. We put a few points, 2 in here, plus 2 from the class mod in Hunter's Eye, because we prioritize putting 5 points in Two Fang. I very rarely use this skill, but single pellet weapons benefit a ton from this. It's essentially just 25% extra damage because 25% of the time it's going to shoot 2 bullets rather than 1, doubling your damage for that shot. 3 points in Big Game. This essentially buffs all of your hunt skill abilities, like Most Dangerous Game, which is a kill skill, extra damage, gun damage, crit damage, handling, pet damage, and lasts a really long time. Other hunt skills are Interplanetary Stalker, Furious Attack, as well as Frenzy. So that's really good to have on you. 1 point in Galactic Shadow, a free pretty much 15% critical hit damage. It's the cheapest 15% in the entire tree. 1 point in Megavore, 20% of the time you are shooting anywhere in the enemy's body, not a crit spot, just anywhere, you're going to get a critical hit, which is really good for your damage, as well as getting head count back super quick and Leave No Trace via Hunter Seekers or even just your shots. And that is everything I have for my level 65 Mandalorian flak build, one of my first actual theme builds, so I hope you guys did find the video helpful or enjoyable. If you did, don't forget to smash subscribe down below. Totally free, helps me out a bunch, and I very much do appreciate it. Other than that, we have a Twitch we stream to every night, and we also have a Discord with awesome people in it, both linked in the description down below. Other than that, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys in the next video and a live stream. Till then, adios.